approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we'll move on to old business, which is our priorities plan review and update. I'll have Katie explain again with the,
Okay, so we had in June, started reviewing the priorities plan, and at that meeting, kind of went through the whole list, right, the whole rigmarole. So the one that I've included in today's meeting packet, I went through, and so in red on it are kind of the items that, the board had discussed at the June meeting, wanting to revisit and kind of dial in on, to move forward with a new project or a new whatever. So on here, under education, so we have asked city council to declare May as historic preservation month. That does need to be done annually. So I will put that like on our calendar. Right after we did it last year, the city clerk, actually kind of came up with the full like policy for those proclamations. Because before it had been kind of a mismatch of how things worked. So now there's a full policy in effect, and a form that we'll just fill out annually, and turn in, before the first, council meeting in May, so that they'll do it each May. So that's on there, just kind of that had been a question at the last meeting, so that's just me providing you with an answer. And then farther down the line, we have, list historical registry properties on the website. So the second packet of information that is there for each of you to pick up, is a spreadsheet that I have developed over the past couple of months. That includes, the first page is all the churches within Lewiston, because Dennis had mentioned that it might be interesting to do, something honoring historic churches. The second page comes directly from the National Register. That's the list of all places within Lewiston that are nationally, designated as historical places. And the third page is, a list of, right, third page? No, that's third. Third page is commercial, buildings within the downtown corridor that were listed on the nominations for the original West End Historic District, and then on the expansion of the West End Historic District. And then page 4 is a list of historic homes, that have been recognized with Orchid Awards over the past 25-ish years. So I thought that would give the board a good, starting point of properties you might want to consider, or properties you might want to look at, so that we can create, a list of both properties we want to list on the website, and then B, a list of properties that we want to start doing more research on. If the board would like to pursue grant funding to maybe do another plaques project. There had been a discussion about, could we expand that project that we had done in the downtown corridor to kind of a larger audience, you know, and maybe that is the historic churches, maybe that is historic homes. Maybe that's other buildings within the downtown corridor. There are possibilities. So that's just, it's mostly just an information dump for you guys so that you have a starting point, basically. And then I was telling, not everybody was here when we were, when I was explaining the list before the meeting started. On the homes that are listed, just because of the records that I was able to like easily access to create the list, I don't have in there, what their historic name was. You know, a lot of homes have, a historic name that is associated with them. And I didn't have enough time to go through and, kind of match historic name to current address. Because it wasn't always listed in the Orchid Award nominations that I was working off of. So that's the explanation of that second pack of information. So like I said, 9A had been list historic register properties on the website, and then list historically significant properties. So that could be the houses and their names. And And so I have on there in red, review list. Historic churches were brought up, review that list. Review the list of the National Register locations. And then oh, speaking of grants, there had been a little bit of discussion about owners of businesses located in the historic district should be encouraged to lean on the historic character of the property in advertising and marketing campaigns. And HPC should sponsor speakers on interesting subjects related to historical preservation or history in the area. And we would need to identify a funding source for that and whether or not that could be a possible grant application. And then finally, under 2, ongoing historic priorities. We had talked about the public information officer had done a kind of a series of Facebook posts for Public Works Week. And I believe Commissioner Hasrall had brought up that she thought that was really kind of interesting and educational and kind of brought attention to something that people don't necessarily think about. And would that be a possibility for this board to do with the city Facebook posts? It would be possible. We would need to decide on what kind of information we want to be shared, and those posts would need to be kind of drafted, and we would have to figure out ways photos to go with them. We need kind of a package to provide to the public information officer for her to be able to do that. So those are the kind of big things that you guys had pulled out of the previous meeting that you wanted to continue talking about and exploring and kind of building on moving forward for the rest of the year. And so I've, like I said, identified those in the priorities plan that was included in the packet that you were sent for the meeting. And then there is that secondary spreadsheet that I created with just kind of a starting point of properties that we could consider for the different things. So that is what I have provided for you guys.
Does anybody have any thoughts or discussion?
And
They're like, what?
And the church list is like all churches, like I literally just
Yeah.
little churches in Lewiston, so not all of those would be considered historic building. That's literally just the whole list of churches. So I can
As
find.
we drive around, we can fill in these.
Yes, and you could like mark them off and be like, this is
Yeah.
a new building, or this
Yeah,
is,
So
you know,
this,
not a building that needs to be considered. That's
Like-
literally just everybody that came up in a Google search.
Well, it'd be fun if we just started with something like the churches just said.
Yeah,
And the next month we'll drive around and we take a look at these and.
we need to
Yeah, if
get-
each person wanted to take like
we
5
need
of
to get
them.
one of those carts that you can just drive around that have all the who's in it, we can all just have a little party and pedal around and drink some wine and have some fun.
You know, we did that a little bit. When we were identifying homes on the other side of the cemetery. You know, and it really wasn't too hard to say, everybody, take your phone and take 5 or 6 of these. We just go through and make sure you photograph them so that you
Right, you have
send all
something
the
that-
photographs, all the photographs are here before the meeting. You know, and that would.
Well, and we could definitely do that, and then I could create like a slideshow and we could review together.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cause then it would be like, okay,
It really,
it gives just something to kind of
Reference.
check through.
so on that first page, that Methodist Church is Broadview, not Grandview, but.
yeah.
Geez, man, it's calling me out for my typing.
No, I'm still gonna get it right. I would certainly be willing to take a chunk of this, because we drive around on Meals on Wheels and that all the time anyway, we just go a little extra.
Okay, so do you wanna identify?
Well, why don't we just take a chunk, take a chunk, take a chunk, take a chunk, don't you think?
There's one.
How many do we have here? And if somebody doesn't want to do it, that's okay too. My church.
There are 32.
Almost nothing for all of us,
But I think you could all take
Okay, so we know, and even we know the top ones, I mean, but then we could get a picture and get it.
Yeah. Gateway.
I think it's the ones we really need to concentrate on.
The blanks.
Are the blanks, because the other, we can drive around in one afternoon and
Yeah.
in the heat, and take a picture.
Is Congo Pres, is it already recognized as historic?
I don't think so.
That's the one right across from the college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Old, cause
The
it's been
St.
there a long
Stan's-
time.
The old St. Stan's is on the national list. I don't think Congo is though.
And then there's, I don't know what it is now. But it's, maybe it's, I think the one on Eighth. Truth Baptist, or it has the keyhole doors and stuff. It's so cool. That's a great looking building. So,
There's only.
Aren't there a few buildings that used to be churches that aren't?
There's 3 on the register. 3 of the churches.
Yeah, so First Christian.
List.
oh, Truth Baptist is right there, yeah.
St. Stan's.
St. Stan's.
Yep.
Willing to take a chunk, sure.
Just divvy them up.
Okay, let's just divvy. Okay, so, is everybody willing to take a chunk?
Yeah.
Lisa, are you willing to take a chunk? Hey, okay.
Yes, Katie, if you could just send me the list after the meeting. I don't have it, but I'm glad to take whatever.
Yeah, and in fact,
So it's 4.
maybe text us all a list or
I
or
can email you all.
Yeah. And then we could just have our reference right on our email. That would be exceptionally
If we
cool.
took 5 apiece, let's just run through them in chunks of 5.
Yeah.
I think you only need 4.
Pictures of them all.
I would get pictures of them all. I would make it, because we're gonna start a project, we may as well look at it.
Yeah. Cause there's that one.
And you know, it's. I should bring and show you what an artist did in Walla Walla with, this is how we worship, essentially. It's really done as a living room picture. We got tired of it after 20 years of having it hanging. But it was
Okay.
all the church steeples and all this kind of stuff that was in Walla Walla. And I tried for the longest time to commission an artist to do that with all of the historic churches here, but now we have the capability of doing it with.
Snapshots.
We could do it with posters or whatever, and I think it would be fun for the people to know this is.
Put it in an old timey filter. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so for the 8 commissioners that we have present, that gives each 4. So I've just divvied it up by 4s, so I can read them off to you if you want. So like Dennis, you get the first 4.
You don't have to send us.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys also, but. So Dennis, you get the first 4. So Ed, your 4 starts at 920 8th Ave, so 920, 3215, 1908, 1700.
Down to first names.
Yes. Leah, you get the next 4, so 1212, 731, 231, 633. Lisa, you get the next 4. Like I said, I'll email it to you since you don't have it in hand. Greg, you get the next 4, starting at 823 7th Ave. 823, 1622, 514, 3434. Tamara, you get the next 4, so 1050 Pearl, 1033, 3436, 1002. Lorinda, you get the next 4, so it's 836 Preston, 707, 1213, 4323, and then Bob, you get the last 4. 3732, 3810, 1519, and 1434.
And then should we just shoot you an email with the address of what each one is?
Yep,
with the
you can send me an
picture?
email and just tell me the address and send me a picture.
Okay.
And then I can make like a slideshow and we can go through all of them. And so I will send this portion of the spreadsheet out. I'll just make it like a PDF. And I'll put your guys' names next to the ones that you're gonna do.
We get to have a week, 10 days.
I need it a week before, then I have to redo the whole thing.
Why don't we make sure we've got it to you in a week or 10 days? Cause this,
You can have it to me in like 2 weeks, because that'll give me a week to compile it, because then I'll need to send it out. I'll send out the packet a week prior to our next meeting.
That gives me a chance for my next Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so the next meeting is September 5th, and so I would send it out at, Thursday before.
Okay.
cool.
So in 2 weeks, make myself a note to send this out. Okay. That takes care of churches, so we'll get started on that part. Okay, so it's churches. So do you guys just do we want to concentrate on that and then move forward?
Mhm.
Once we've kind of nailed churches down, then
Yeah.
we can move forward to like the historic homes and what we would like to maybe put on the website or go after grants or whatever with historic homes next, and just kind of
Yeah,
go one by one by one.
that's how I'd wanna do it.
This could end up being a fun project with the museum too, because we have talked so much about, we need the histories. I wrote a history of Trinity years ago when I was there, and I still got it before, I'm sure. But there are just things like that that could be used for the QR codes or anything that we, and I'm
Yeah.
sure every one of these churches has it, but they haven't been really forthcoming in sharing it.
Right.
It's been pull and tug to.
Right, well, and it might be something where once we've kind of narrowed this list down to what you guys really would like to concentrate on, like, these are ones we consider historic, right? Then the next step might be, each person signs up for so many and you reach out to the church itself and be like, hey, we're working on a historic thing, we're gonna
So
try to.
our normal historic
grants,
guideline is
blah, blah,
40
blah.
years, is that right?
I wanna say it's more than that, because I think the 1950s stuff is just coming online to be able to be considered. So I wanna say it's 50 plus. I would have to go back and look, so I do not know off the top of my head.
50 plus and the 70s would be online too.
Maybe it's more than 50.
So it'd have to be 60.
Yeah, I'm guessing it
60
might be a
plus.
little bit more than the. It's like when you consider like.
And a couple of these are no longer churches.
Antiques are
Yeah.
about anywhere from 90 to
They
100.
have been, like the one up there on Warner,
Yeah.
514 Warner is no longer a church. Some of these you'll find won't be a church.
Isn't there a radio station on Normal Hill by the college or the high school, the old high school?
It's a TV station.
Yeah, yeah.
And it used to be a church too.
Well, the one on Seventh Avenue, that
That's
gray
still-
guy,
The biker place.
Mhm.
it's that yellow, I mean, and a lot of people won't even know that that church even exists, but it's probably been there 100 years. Or plus, yeah.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see what we
That's
find.
nice now.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to do it because we could look at the rest of this list kind of that way too, because
Yeah, if we have a starting point, we kind of know how we're systematically gonna go through it. and be
this
like,
is a good test to see if it works.
And so
Well,
so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
purpose
Yeah.
of this would be then to put it on the website or,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, so I think that would be the first step, because that doesn't cost us any money, right? But then there would also been the conversation of expanding that plaques project, and would we have enough to go after another grant?
And it gives us a great
I
opportunity.
mean, 'cause that's the other problem, is you need to have so much
Mm-hmm.
kind of done
Mhm.
beforehand, or at least planned out beforehand when you
Right,
go for those
the-
grants.
for the-
But yeah, I think the beginning goal would be website.
Okay.
Is that we're beefing up interesting things on the HPC webpage.
Mhm.
This might also make for good fodder to go out for Facebook posts. I know that Mr. Branting gets a ton of traction when he posts, a photo and a little narrative, and
That's what I was gonna bring up next is I really like the idea of starting to work on that as well.
Mhm.
Because it's a no cost to us, basically. And so, I would be interested in starting to maybe come up with some ideas for different posts to start working on that.
yeah, so we can identify kind of like what direction you guys wanna
Yeah.
go in for
So for purpose of the minutes, do we need a motion that we're going to just, we're going to do the experiment with the first page on
No,
about
don't.
churches?
We're just gonna do it. Okay.
Yeah, this is not something that has to be a vote. You guys are just going to, if we're gonna move forward and like do more with it, then yes, we would vote to decide the direction, but right now we're kind of just researching.
I, the other day on the internet, or actually, the reason we even looked it up is because we saw these guys downtown and one's wearing a mask and we're walking around and he's doing this introducing or just showing the city. And it was just, showing downtown, walk through downtown and he was taking all the, it'd be kind of fun just to kind of, maybe a post be like, hit a couple of the buildings with the QR codes and show it and then kind of back up and just talk about the building and a little bit of the history. I think that would be some fun post too, that actually is interactive where they can actually see the building and,
Similar to the Facebook Live.
yeah, more of like a live video that people can, oh, cool, look at that, just informational. Somebody yapping about it.
Well, I think the more times we get people walking and looking and seeing things, the more pride they take in it.
Exactly.
Anybody have anything else on the list they'd like to talk a little more about or they're interested in?
So the proclamations procedures that you referred to, Katie, is that for every proclamation? Because I was asked to see the mayor about one for,
Yeah, you want me to email it to you? Because
yes,
there's a form and now there's a policy, so.
I would like that because I want one on Paul's.
Yep, I will send you one. Yeah, because before it was kind of, you just approached the mayor or you went to the city clerk. And so the city clerk was like, this needs to be a little more like defined. And so now there's a form and there is kind of a policy of like when it needs to be turned in, number of days before a meeting and that kind of stuff. So it can be on the agenda and just so that it's more streamlined. I will send that to you after the meeting.
Anything else on the priorities plan? Well, we could move on then to commissioner comments.
I have a couple.
Okay.
We have been working with the architectural firm of CSHQA out of Boise with the Liberty Theater. They will do some contracting with local architects and other business people as well. But we're working on the entire project, but especially focusing on the marquee. The good news is that we have done another structural study of the marquee, and there has been very minimal damage, which is good because there's the water system to get water off the marquee is primitive, to say the least. We also have been contacted by the insurance company that we need to, in order to continue our insurance, we need to fix the sidewalk, but we're in the conundrum and we're working with the insurance companies, knowing that the city is going through the city plan and that the sidewalks are part of that. So we're going to work at what can be done to make that even more safe than it is.
With your vault.
And there will be some damage and there will be some redoing if you put a pipe down through to filter the water out rather than those little things that are hanging off the end, just dump on somebody's car currently. That will probably involve some going through the vault and doing some other things that will be of importance, but that is happening. We expect to see some actual physical activity starting in October. We were just thrilled with the amount of ideas that came from the people who were here, and they were all cost-saving ideas, but they're also we're practical and safety oriented, so we're thrilled. So I'm assuming that we will see some things because they're trying to establish a time frame, and you know, the time frame for the Liberty goes all the way from 1902 on. So it's just what you choose, and there were probably 30 different marquees over that time period. I may be exaggerating, but I could identify 20 that we have in the folders, and I bet there's another 10 that we just don't even have in the folders. That's the first thing. And then last time I invited you all to go take a look at the Heritage House. Phenomenal change to the back end of the Heritage House. Thanks to the contractors and a grant from the Idaho Heritage Trust Foundation, a matching grant. And the contractors have been in there, volunteers. Doors were put back that rather than that old steel door that was there, they're historical doors there. We've had tremendous cooperation from Kurt Stedman and Jason from Clarkson Glass and Inland Audio, who have donated the heavy protective glass, but it's clear and, you know, it's just great. It's not open yet, but it's going to be open because we're going to have some tours coming in the next week or so. But just driving by, stopping for a minute and looking at the back end of the building, you will see tremendous changes. And certainly cleaned up, and the floor has been leveled inside. I mean, there's just been a lot of things that have been done to improve that. And then I think all of you know that Greg lost his father and downtown businessman in a historic building that were there. And
Yeah,
so we want to extend our sympathies to Greg.
thanks.
We're celebrating at our house. I think some of you know that Carol had emergency surgery on Monday, just the freakiest stuff you can imagine, but we are thrilled. So she had been deteriorating, according to the doctor, exponentially in the last month, to the point that mobility was difficult for her, lost all the feeling in her hands, arms, fingers, everything. And kyphosis, she had gone from 6 feet, almost 6 feet tall, down to 5'5". And anyway, they said not to expect any. The doctor had her in on Thursday once they got the MRI done. So I want to operate tomorrow. We couldn't do that because of the Eliquis. They operated on Monday, held till Monday. Said it's a miracle that you weren't paralyzed from the neck down. But now they put spacers in, took out and just disc out, I should say. And I got the first face-to-face kiss in 4 years.
That's cool.
Because she's been so curved that she's had to walk up my chest, and she was standing upright, which is
Excellent.
terrific. And they told her not to expect to have great, if any, improvements, just to kind of keep it from going worse. She has feeling in all of her fingers, her arms now. They're warm, and she can make a fist, and she hasn't been able to close her hands in almost 6 months.
Wow.
So some great stuff. But it's been a hectic week.
Good.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Some
Good
good
news.
reports then. And let's see, how about our council liaison?
No, do you guys need me to bring anything up for the day meeting? This Monday, but next Monday. Well, or a regular meeting.
Oh, thanks. So.
We need you to bring donuts to the next meeting.
I'll work on it. Then I don't have anything.
Okay, about staff comments.
Nothing big from me, just kind of standard. Next meeting is September 5th. So you guys have gotten your assignments for visiting churches and taking pictures. So if you can add those to me in 2 weeks, and that way I can include all that information in the next packet. Is there anybody who knows now that they're unable to?
I guess they're very right for me, I wanted to, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Is the main.
Or your rodeo hats, I guess.
Oh, it's, yep.
Will be rodeo weekend. Yes,
Mhm.
right, don't be bringing that in here. Okay. That's all I got.
Okay,
Wow.
well. We're ready to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those.
Geez, that sounded like I was in a big.
Adjourning the meeting?
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks, Lisa.
Mhm.